I'm hoping for some exotic brews.
Yes. All right, well, we do not know their deck list yet, but we will shortly. Chris VanMeter, a Star City Games level 8.
Definitely one of the regulars versus Alex Lapping. Not sure yet what decks they're playing.
Chris actually won the Legacy Open, I guess that was 3 tournaments ago, playing the blue-white Snapcaster deck, and that was the first tournament where you could play Snapcaster Mage in Legacy at one of these open events.
Yeah, he made excellent use of Riptide Lab with that one, obviously.
One of my favorite cards ever.
Same. It's a little good now that they actually print good wizards, especially good wizards when it comes to the playabilities, but it's only legal in formats where it's fine. So.
Before Worlds, when I wanted to play Nassif's Mono Blue Wizard deck one time, I needed to find Riptide Labs, and it was impossible. I was freaking out that I wasn't going to be able to find it. Oh, here we have a turn 1 Jataxian Probe from Alex.
So it looks like we have green-white tokens. That's a Micaeus. So yeah, we're looking at Chris VanMeter playing green-white tokens, possibly Juza style, versus Alexander Lapping, who, by playing a turn 1 Jataxian Probe, and there's still a lot of things he could be playing, but it makes me think he's playing the blue-white Clawblade, sort of. You know, the Stoneblade build with, not Stoneblade, I guess just blue-white blade these days. You know, setting up the turn 2 Snapcaster Mage by Jataxian Probe as a Silvergill Adept. Now, that's green? Hinterland Harbor.
Hinterland Harbor is
interesting.
green.
It looked like he had. It looked like, was that a birthing pod I saw in his hand?
Ooh, spicy brew.
I like it.
I like it also.
That's an Oculus. Nobody has Oculus on the top 3 cards of the library if they're not birthing potting.
That's true.
That is definitely.
Are we sure that's an Oculus?
Sure. I don't know if I would say sure. But as a guy who's drawn a lot of Oculus in his day, I'm all too intimately familiar with Doc Ock. So yeah, whatever Alex is playing, like even though he's just showing Hinterland Harbor Island, Chris knows that a turn 2 Micaeus is just going to be fantastic. You know, just ticking up, becoming a bigger and bigger threat, so that whenever he sticks something that's producing some tokens, it's like an Ajani with Suspend. You know. In a lot of ways, that's what Micaeus really is a Suspend. It's like, I mean, you can just play it as an Ajani that doesn't have that has summoning sickness later, but early on you can suspend it.
I like thinking about it like that.
All right, so what are we working with here? Oh wow, yeah, this
is a Grand Architect.
Yeah, he's a well, he's got the birthing pods.
Yeah,
but he's a Grand Architect birthing pod player. That's really interesting. Complete with Treasure Mage package. And I've always loved Snapcaster Mage with birthing pod. You know, he doesn't have a lot of targets though for it, just the probes and ponders. It's really interesting. And then he doesn't really, he's not green, he's mono blue. The 4 Hinterland Harbors are just to prevent a little damage from the birthing pod. He doesn't have any green cards. It's really interesting. And he's making good use of Buried Ruin, which is kind of exciting. You know, I've always liked Buried Ruin with Mindslaver and Wormcoil Engine and so on. And the Metamorph, obviously. Kind of an exciting brew.
Yeah, I mean, 1-1 too. This deck's pretty awesome.
Chris VanMeter, on the other hand, is he's pretty close to some kind of a stock green-white tokens deck. The only spice, he's got 1 Elvish Norn to top out his curve. He is playing the Overrun style. You know, he's only got 1 Geist Honored Monk, but all in all, fairly standard. You know, he is playing Blade Splicers instead of Mirror. Oh, he has Mirror Crusaders also, so he's playing the mix.
He's playing a lot less 1-drops than we're used to seeing out of that deck.
Just the 4 Pilgrims and 4 Birds?
If you watch the Magic Online Premier event results, Megzors has 4-0'd about half of the Premier events recently, playing 15 1-drops and 10 5-drops in her green-white decks.
So, looks like Alexander has got Birthing Pod in action. He's upgraded to, he's got Spellskite now, is that Grand Architect? So Grand
That is
Architect,
Grand
Birthing Pod, and Spellskite facing down a Machias, a Blade Splicer, a token, and he's well aware that Meter's hand had a good mix of spells and a fairly good curve. So what's Alex got to get down now? Now that he's got the Grand Architect and he's got Spellskite to protect his Grand Architect from a potential O-ring, or his Waving Ring from an O-ring. What is Alexander trying to set up? Because this is like his deck working here, right? Like he's got Architect and Birthing Pod going. What's next?
I mean, can he just Mindslaver and activate it next turn? He has Mindslaver in his hand.
He has Mindslaver in his hand?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Does he have a land? That's because he's got 4, 5, 6, 7.
There's one on the top of his deck, right?
He's only showing 7 mana. Because, like, Mindslaver costs 10 to use.
Okay.
He's got 4 land. The Architect is 2 more is 6. The Spellskite makes 1 is 7.
7, and
right.
then...
So I think he's a turn away.
Okay, yeah, he's a turn away, you're right.
Now he can Birthing Pod and theoretically get a blue creature and get 1 more mana. He can actually net a mana that way to get up to 8.
Yeah, and you can use the artifact mana from the guys to activate the Birthing Pod also.
So I think that, well, most likely, yeah, he would just pay he would just pay the life. Yeah, he just use a colorless into. See, I still think he's a turn away. Now we're gonna see this redirected to the Spellskite, surely, right?
Yes.
Alexander's definitely going to be facing down a lot of pressure, so he's probably going to need to produce something that can affect the board pretty quickly here. That is a Wormcoil in his hand too, right? Because if he just drops Wormcoil next turn, he's in real good shape. He lets it go. Wow, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, here he is. It almost seems like Chris wanted him to let that go from his perspective. Because here Chris did not attack with the Golem before he cast that Oblivion Ring. And Alex probably, that's a bit confusing. If somebody didn't attack with their, with their onboard trick guy who kills my O4 and their other guy before casting their Oblivion Ring, like you give your opponent an opportunity to make
you can just block the 1/1. If he figures that for sure
he wants to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
But another thing is maybe he's thinking, if I have Spellskite and Wormcoil on the table, this is locked up.
That may be. That may actually, it may just be that he doesn't need to get fancy because all he was going to use the Birthing Pod for. But maybe the Birthing Pod, yeah, because I guess he's got another Birthing Pod in his hand anyway. It's interesting. Maybe he just needs to conserve his life total. From the looks of it, I mean, that's the type of play, you don't make that play at random. He's obviously got a lot of experience with his deck, and that's the sort of thing where, and he deliberated about it for a second to make sure that's what he wanted to do. Chris, I know, is going to be at least a little concerned. Anybody who lets the Birthing Pod go after thinking about it, like, what does this mean?
I would be confused.
Well, I mean, it's not clear that Chris could actually beat a Wormcoil in this position. All things considered, this looks like it's could potentially shape up to be kind of a challenging matchup for Chris when he doesn't draw one of those 1-drops, one of those crucial 1-drops to give him the speed to get ahead of this. Because Chris doesn't have an answer to Architect. And if you just let an Architect live, bad things happen.
And Alex has 4 Spellskites.
Yeah, I think that's like probably one of his primary game plans against both red decks and Wolf Run. Being able to redirect that Wolf Run activation. Because otherwise, a deck like his that has no counter spells or removal is going to have such trouble with that end game. So what does Chris need to do to turn this around? Because this is going to get out of hand very quickly.
I guess like Elspeth into an overrun.
He's got Gavani Township now, so his guys are getting even bigger. Yeah, like it seems like if he just gets so big, so much stuff that's just so much value that he could actually just power through the Wormcoil engine.
It's tough. The death touches, and it makes it
real tough. It's like a 6-for-1 already. And what's going to make it even worse is that he doesn't know Alexander. From the looks of it, Alexander's hand is full of gas. He's got Scab Ruinator. He's got.
Yeah, and Alex can also just slaver him and then just destroy
Well, that's
him.
going to be it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the combination of worm coil, like just making guys run into the worm coil, and this
He can
is
very ruin it back.
this is
Like, I don't think we're necessarily going to see the Mindslaver on the next turn, but the turn after that, we're going to see Mindslaver into Mindslaver on 2 consecutive turns.
with the Buried Ruin in play. This is like you said. This is going to be this is rough. What does if Chris doesn't have? Chris has 3 O-rings, so that's not a lot of main deck answers to this position. Yeah, from the looks of it, it's definitely just try to commit as much power and toughness to the board. Hope Alexander doesn't have any more, and grind through the worm coil.
Yeah, draw an overrun.
The problem is that he's going to have to face down, like already on board, he sees that he's going to have to beat worm coil and Buried Ruin the worm coil. But he also is going to be wanting to get a little more information about Alexander's deck. Because he knows this is already, he's in real bad shape. Metamorph, presumably copying a worm coil engine. Maybe copying Mikaeus. Be interesting if Chris doesn't tap Mikaeus here and put counters on everything. Seems like you gotta... Like, if you're Chris, you gotta just tap and put a counter on everything, right?
I don't know, I think
Or is Mikaeus only at 1?
Mikaeus is only at 1 right now.
Oh, so then you wait.
But he does have the township, so it can pump every guy every turn. It is...
Oh, right, all I meant is that if the Metamorph copies the Mikaeus, he won't have time to respond.
Yes. That's it. If you ask what it is, it's like you can ask somebody what they're naming with their Cabal therapy and then counter it.
No, you can't. Yeah. Looks like it was in fact the worm coil, and now he drops another birthing pod. Yeah, things are definitely officially out of hand. This matchup doesn't look like it's where Chris wants to be, but he's going to need a 1-drop if he's going to make a good go at it. Obviously Alexander isn't going to draw Architect every game, but he's going to draw it at least half, about half the time.
Oh, so he didn't even keep the Architect.
Yeah, what's he needed for? He just made another worm coil, right?
Yeah.
This is a board that it looks like he knows that Chris wanted to just try to grind him out at this point, and there's no way in the world he's beating 3 worm coils with a Spell Skite and a Buried Ruin.
I'm not sure why he doesn't just attack with one of the worm coils there.
That's true. Why not?
Right? Like
You have 2 more guys on defense.
you
plus,
this is a sweet
get the
little
party
12-point swing. Yeah.
oh no, there's enough first strike damage, right? Is that a Mirren Crusader and a Blade Splicer token? Yeah, on the far right. There's enough first strike damage that you're just throwing it away.
See, but in that case, then I would want to keep the Architect around until I could slaver away some of that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah, to get enough mana to actually slaver him. Seems like once you get rid of your Architect, the dream of slavering him.
Alright. Another Mirren Crusader.
Chris continuing to just commit as much as he can to the board. I mean, as long as he's got Gavani Township and Mikaeus, he's going to be gaining value every turn.
Mm-hmm.
This is... His army is going to get really, really big. And there is the Slaver. I guess Alexander just figures he can do it over the course of 2 turns because...
And that's fine.
What's the rush?
Yeah.
Chris's team is about to go on a berserker charge into 3 worm coil engines.
It's kind of a scary thing. Imagine hanging out, 3 of your friends and a golem, and you have to go fight these 3 gargantuan metallic hell beasts.
Yeah, but you're probably not thinking about it at the time, seeing as you're a slave. You're mentally just...
A slave to Chris VanMeter. doing his bidding.
Oh, I meant slaved Alexander lapping at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, mind slavery.
Trading one kind of bondage for another.
So, speaking of bondage, what do we have in the sideboards for these guys? Chris, it looks like, has, I guess, 2 naturalizes and an O-ring, which he'll surely bring in.
Yes.
He's probably wishing that naturalize was a revoke existence right about now, but, you know, you work with what you got.
Take what you can get. O-ring comes in.
I think he's going to bring the Garuk regardless, the extra copy, because that's his answer to Grand Architect.
It's a good answer to Grand Architect, too.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And it's also, it's not an unreasonable answer for Spellskite. You know, you can attack with a Blade Splicer, and he'll block with his Spellskite, and then you can play Garruk, and you can actually kill Spellskites that way also.
I actually like Fiend Hunter out of his board, too.
I would bring in Fiend Hunter also.
Fantastic against, I mean, it's an answer to Architect. Mm-hmm. It's an answer to Wormcoil Engine.
And what's really important is that Chris needs to be able to get this removal, but he needs to be able to do so in like a redundant fashion that allows him to get the Spellskite out of the way.
Yeah. Especially, he doesn't even know how many Spellskites he's up against now. But yeah, Naturalize is going to help too there, just if nothing else, because the Naturalize can clear the way so that the O-Ring can actually hit something. And he's got plenty, I mean, he can cut some of the slow stuff, you know, like he's going to be able to take out Alishnor, and he's going to be able to take out, I'm not even sure that these Mirror Crusaders are that good for him. They might be, just because the first strike might be so crucial for getting past Wormcoils. Elspeth Terrell might be a little slow. I'm not sure.
I think the
Mortarpod can go for sure.
Yes, Mortarpod, I think.
Alishnor and the 2 Mortarpods, I think, can all go.
How many cards do we think he's bringing in? I would bring in Primal Hunter, too.
Yeah, I guess why not? Like, Alexander's deck doesn't look that good against Planeswalkers.
Okay, so, alright, Alexander just, now it's his turn.
It looks like we're about to see Alexander finally slavering Chris VanMeter.
Finally, Slav. Oh, no.
Oh, what's the rush, right? Just hang out. Now he can.
I don't know if I agree with that.
He puts him down on a clock, and what's the worst that could happen? Chris has only got 1 card in hand. If it's an O-ring and he draws another O-ring, then he gets the slaver. But I mean,
he can just slave him now. He upgraded he used Birthing Pod to upgrade the
Spellskite into an Architect.
Spellskite into an Architect, and then all right.
Chris says, "Well, do your worst. At least all of my guys will be huge." Well, that's interesting. Looks like Garuk is going to kill one of his own guys.
Yeah.
The problem here, of course, is that Alexander has lethal on the table. So all he has to do is make Chris attack with everything.
And then he wins.
As long as Alexander doesn't die on the attack and gets to keep... I mean, he's going to have Wormcoil guys anyway, so yeah.
I mean, he's not going to die on the attack. He has 18 points of lifelink.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is possible to slaver your opponent, do it wrong, and make them kill you. It's very embarrassing. No, Brian DeMars was in a Type 1 match involving Juggernaut and Mindslaver. That was particularly awkward. Notable.
Brian DeMars top 50 the PT, I believe, right?
Yeah. He either top 32 or he might have even top 16.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think he top 50.
I know I saw him doing well.
Maybe top 50. I don't know. Yeah, he definitely.
I know he finished
high enough to parlay it.
Okay,
on the last one that you can. So Wormcoils all over the place. Mm-hmm. All he has to do is live through the attack. Even if the Wormcoils die, he's going to have enough guys to just swing back and finish him off. He's explaining it to Chris. And Chris packs it in.
Yeah.
What are we seeing out of Alexander's sideboard?
All right, so Alexander has Ratchet Bombs, Dismembers, Flash Freezes, some extra Snapcasters, and Negates.
That's a great sideboard for this matchup, right?
Ratchet Bomb seems pretty good.
Ratchet Bomb seems fantastic for this.
Yes.
And, I mean, do you think, like, even Dismember? Like, the fact that he's seen Hero of Whitehold, which is probably a problem card for him, and Mikaeus, and sometimes even just hitting a guy, do you think he'll bring in Dismembers, or do you think he can't afford to dilute his engine too much?
I kind of want 2 Dismembers in the main.
Yeah, I think Dismember seems hot. I don't know for sure if you bring them all in, but I would like a little bit of Dismember here. Definitely like as much Ratchet Bomb as possible.
Yes. I want all of the Ratchet Bombs. I like having the 1 Mindslaver.
You know, the Dismember seems fantastic. He's even got the Snapcaster Mage action. Adding Dismember seems like a great fit.
I think Scab Ruinator can come out.
You don't think he's gonna Birthing Pod up the Ruinator often enough? I like the Ruinator on defense, like holding, like it is a 3-drop you can get that shuts down the attack. You know, I keep the Ruinator anyway. It adds a different dimension. I'd rather have the Ruinator than like, you know, like for instance, I mean, I feel like you can trim on stuff like you can trim on Oculus, you
Birthing
can trim
Pod.
on Spellskite, you can trim on Gitaxian Probe, you can. It's tough because his main deck is all the cards are fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so probably he's not going to need, you know, like Flash Freeze, for instance. It's not bad, but it's not gonna. It doesn't do what you need, right? Like whereas Ratchet Bomb and Dismember.
Much more focused for. Like, I'm sure he has that card for the Wolf Run decks.
Yeah. In mono red. But.
Yeah.
So Ratchet Bomb and Dismember,
which is not good for him.
What's that?
Mono red.
Oh yeah, mono red seems like it would be real tough for him. He's got Spellskite though.
Yeah, and you know, they're not bolting anymore. They're shocking. He's Grand Architecting into Wormcoil Engines, right?
Yeah.
He's probably fine.
I mean, they're going to board in Dismember, but yeah, I don't know. A lot of these red decks I've been seeing don't even have Incinerate in them either. Have to Brimstone Volley it or something.
That's kind of crazy. Not playing Incinerate?
You're playing Shock, but not Incinerate? That's the world we live in? I mean, I do it too. When I play red decks, not mono red. Mono red I like Incinerate still, but I like both. But
15%. Incinerate.
Wait, 15% what?
Of their life total.
Oh. The thing, it depends. I think if you're going to use it as removal, you know, like Galvanic Blast or Shock, often is better because 2 is sort of the common, you know, I mean 1 is extremely common also. Mm-hmm. But there's the sort of debate of, you know, Geist Flame versus Gut Shot versus Galvanic Blast / Shock. The nice thing about Shock and Galvanic Blast is being able to hit all those same things, but instead of having the backdoor value from Geist, the Geist Flame of getting it later, or the blowout of getting it, you know, for free when it matters from Gut Shot, you have the ability to do things like hit, you know, Mirren Crusader. That's the big one to me, you know.
Mirren Crusader is a very scary card. Standard. I think. Do you think Chris is going to take those out here? Well, Mortar Pod's definitely coming out.
2 Mortar Pods and an Elish Norn,
and
for
an
sure.
Elish Norn, for sure.
And I like bringing in
Fiend Hunter,
both Garuks, both Naturalizes, and an O-Ring.
And an O-Ring, so that's 6 cards.
Yeah, so I guess...
And we have 3 cuts so far.
Maybe Geist Honored Monk is too slow?
I don't know. I kind of like Cloud Goat Ranger against those kind of decks. Right?
Is it big enough?
Well...
It doesn't beat a Wormcoil. Like, it doesn't. It's not Cloud Goat. It doesn't fly over. It flies over for 2.
But with, like, the overrun effects, the flyers are pretty good.
Yeah. Flyers are good.
And I don't think he can really be on the plan of, like, how can I beat a resolved Wormcoil?
I think he has to. I don't think he can stop him from... But we will see. I would predict he trims a little bit of the expensive stuff, just because, maybe Elspeth, maybe he keeps the Geist and he cuts an Elspeth or something, but I just like Planeswalkers in this kind of a matchup. But he does have that one drop that we talked about that's so crucial.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned he doesn't have as many one drops as some of the other green-white builds, but it's definitely going to work better now that he has them. So he has at least one Mirror Crusader in his deck.
Still has one.
The turn 2 Mirror Crusader is a much more aggressive clock than the turn 2 McKay's. Although Doc Ock has
That's actually a pretty obnoxious thing to have to fight when you play a Mirror Crusader.
Yeah. You can't even attack with the Pilgrim either. It's so obnoxious. Just prevents 5 damage here. And now he doesn't even have to block with it. So sick. Things are definitely Oculus.
Alright, let's see.
The perfect curve. This is what these green-white decks aspire to do. Literally, the Pilgrim into Crusader into Hero is their best draw.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what he wanted to see here, too. Hopefully, for Alexander's sake, he has one of those dismembers that we talked about. From the looks of it, not so much. So, Birthing Pod, use it, paying 4 life. Dropping to 12. He gets the Ruinator.
Okay.
So the Ruinator is going to eat the hero, but...
and Alex gets to draw a card after this? Is that how the ordering works?
No, you have to draw the card first. If you draw a card at all.
It's a May.
Yeah, it is a May.
Okay.
So now, if he eats the hero, he's going to take 6 from the Crusader, 2 from the Pilgrim, 4 from the other tokens. That's 12. So he can't even eat the hero. He has to eat the Crusader.
Well, he can't eat the Crusader now either. That's a Gavany Township.
Oh, wow. So now...
Yeah, Chris just attacks with Hero and Mirror Crusader.
Even if he chumps the Crusader... No, it's not even chumping. So if he eats... He does fight the Crusader, but he'll take 1, 2, 3, 4...
Well,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11... No.
4 for strike. 4 for... the Scavenger is a 3-4, right?
No.
Oh,
Scavenger is currently a 6-7.
It's a 6-7. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the...
Yes.
So if Chris attacks and does the pumping we described, Alexander will be at 2, and his Ruinator will trade with the Mirror Crusader.
That does not seem very good for him.
It could be worse. He could be dead on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what does he need to do to turn this around? Like, he's got Ratchet Bomb in his hand, but this is obviously, Ratchet Bomb is the wrong card for this draw. You know, like, Ratchet Bomb is more against the token element. He can play Grand Architect next turn. He does have a Birthing Pod in play, so... The problem, though, is that it's just going to spiral out of control. I mean, not only is he may eat the Crusader. I mean, he may trade with the Crusader. Yeah, see, he's going to trade with the Crusader, but he's still going to be facing down 7 guys in like 35 power next turn.
Oh, he's just dead, right?
Now he's just dead.
Yeah, he's
Does he
dead.
not see it? Yeah, now he's just dead on board. That was the not the block.
6 plus 8 is 14. Yeah. He's dead. -2.
So it looks like regular damage finally resolved. First strike damage was the startling point, I guess. So after a grindy game 1, we see Chris completely dominant. Was that a turn 5 kill?
Yes.
Turn 4 kill?
Turn 4.
It was a turn 4 kill through resistance. Like through Architect, Birthing Pod, Oculus. Yeah.
Scavenger.
Yep, both of these players' decks are capable of producing some really, really good draws, you know? And Chris is opening...
Alex did Fire Blast himself.
Yeah.
Odd. But he had to.
Chris's game 1 hand was certainly good against a regular blue deck, But this is a very, very different style of blue than we've been seeing. Now Alexander gets the playback again. What's he going to be looking for? Like, what's his... I mean, I guess we saw that game one, his good draw, right? Like Architect into Birthing Pod into Worm Coil. Like he probably wants to lead.
Ratchet Bomb?
He plays a Ratchet Bomb on 2 on the play. Alright.
Even a Spell Scout on 2 is also really powerful.
Yeah, it can buy himself some time and protects him from the inevitable naturalizes and O-rings that we see, you know? I definitely think Chris needs to continue to try to be as fast as possible, you know? You want
he really wants a 1-drop.
Oh, man.
I would mulligan to it, on the draw especially. I don't think you can keep a hand without a 1-drop.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the hand without a 1-drop that you'd have to keep would be something like... Because he doesn't even have any 2-drops in his deck. You know? Like, he's got Micaeus. But I guess if you didn't have a 1-drop, you'd really want a Micaeus into a 3-drop with several removal spells to follow it up, like a Garruk and then like an O-ring and a Naturalizer thing.
I really want to play more 1-drops in Chris's deck.
Yeah, Chris's deck seems like it'd be perfect to have like 2 Llanowar Elf. I mean, obviously you prefer the Birds and the Pilgrims, but he's already playing those. And every game he has a 1-drop just seems like he's a turn ahead. You know, it's just so much...
Yeah, the difference between having a 1-drop and not having a 1-drop in this 3-drop heavy deck list is pretty huge.
Right, like, because it's not even just 1 turn, it's like 2 in a lot of ways, because you're not doing anything with your second turn otherwise.
Yeah, you're like mortar potting or like casting Micaeus, you're suspending your Johnny.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not applying pressure.
Yeah, I think you either got to play more 2-drops or you got to play more 1-drops. Like, I think... I don't know, this is just... I guess maybe you don't have to, but that just seems a little bit like, you know, I wouldn't want a chance not getting a 1-drop. All right, so is Alexander taking a mulligan?
It looks like Alexander is taking a mulligan.
That is definitely not what he wants to see, but his deck probably mulligans pretty well. I mean, when your deck has such powerful things it can be doing, like Grand Architecting, he's always going to have his color. He's got really powerful effects that produce more than a card's worth of value, you know, like Architect or Birthing Pod or Worm Coil.
All of his cards are really good. This deck's good.
I'm with you on the first half, for sure. I don't think the deck's necessarily bad. I think that...
It could be tuned.
I'm not sold that this is the best positioned deck. Because I think these Architect decks are so, like, they're cool and they can be really good on the right weekend when you pick the exact right spot where, you know, because it keeps fluctuating which decks people are playing. This isn't the type of deck that I think you just want to power through everybody, where it just becomes one of the pillars of the format. This is more of a, if the right matchups are in place, then he's pretty well positioned. But in general, I mean, do you like this style of deck against, like, say, a blue deck, for instance?
Blue-white, I'm not so sure about. I mean,
blue-black.
That's probably a little worse.
I don't know. Yeah, because I don't like his deck against blue decks. But I think that as long as he faces against all these green and white decks, and mono-white, and, not mono-white, like White-Blue Destiny.
Yeah, White-Blue Destiny is good for him.
Wolf Run. You know, all that.
Wolf Run's good for him, too.
I mean, he's actually fine against red. Spell Skites, Oculus, Worm Coils, that's an awful lot.
Terminator.
Yeah, he's got a lot of sweet action.
If you sign up for
So, Chris VanMeter definitely looking for a 1-drop, as he has no 2-drops either. Alexander leading off, Island, Ponder. Now, what's he looking for? He's mostly looking for Architect, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, these decks, Architect is always the best card in their deck by a lot. And like, it's their Bitter Blossom, where their deck is just a totally different deck when they have it. Oh, he's got the blinged out Oculuses. Absolutely.
This is the turn 2 Ratchet Bomb. That's a pretty Birds of Paradise.
Absolutely. He does not play the Ratchet Bomb. He plays Oculus. That seems so bizarre to me. Why would you not play?
I don't know. I mean, it's...
Don't you want... You leave with the Ratchet Bomb, and then
yeah, because the Oculus, like, it's not like it's going to block a bird. It's, you get him for a point.
That seems so not the important battle.
So, Chris gets to stick a Blade Splicer here, right?
Yeah.
And I think he might just have, like, Perfect Curve again. And Blade
doesn't have another white
Splicer is...
mana.
Oh, does he have one in his hand?
Doesn't
look like it.
Yeah, I don't see another white mana. So, like, he is
He's
cut
gotta
off
draw
from a
one.
lot of his options. Are we about to see Alexander just...
There are 12 lands that come into play on tap and produce white for...
Wow, so he plays the Pilgrim instead of the Blade Splicer.
Huh.
What's the theory on this one?
Maybe Hero Bladehold is that good. Maybe he thinks
That's
his
true.
opponent doesn't have a way to kill it.
So Alexander's about to drop this. You know, Alexander can threaten to drop, I guess, Ratchet Bomb, looking at that 2-for-1. But now he's going to be facing down a Hero of Bladehold, and he's got to imagine that that's what's happening right here. Like, why would he? I mean, he's not showing another white. Play Spellscape. He must just be saving Ratchet Bomb for 0. That's the thing. He's just already committed in his mind that he's going to be Ratchet Bombing for 0.
Chris had the end-step Naturalize, so he's able to take advantage of that mana that he didn't tap the turn before.
Oh, okay.
And that...
There's that hero we talked about. Doesn't have another land, though, so he can't actually activate his township yet.
But any land off the top is good enough to start activating the township. And a township with hero is pretty vicious.
So we're about to see Oculus become a Scab Ruinator, I think. I always love the, when you Birthing Pod away Oculus looking for the Ruinator, every time you get a little rush as you hope that the card you draw isn't the Ruinator.
Yeah.
Used to come up all the time with
So
Urabrask.
sick.
You're playing against Twin, and you like, you get rid of the Solemn Simulacrum, and you're like, I'm going to draw the card anyway, I don't care, I want that little rush thing.
Alright. That's a pretty big game.
Yeah, Scab Ruinator with Birthing Pod to give him more action. You know, like, Chris can't just attack into this. He doesn't have another land for the township to start building an army. You know, like, this is a brick wall. He did get rid of the Spellskate, though, which makes the Ruinator, you know, not
More susceptible. So now, I mean,
He can also, there's attack with everything, lose your hero, and then Garruk and lose your Garruk also. It's an ugly way to have to do it, but you can't just let the Ruinator sit and play. And it may also just be that he's tanking because he has O-Ring and he's deciding which is the bigger threat. But in his heart of hearts, he'd probably just hit the Ruinator, get in there.
And if you have O-Ring, you have to just get rid of the Ruinator, especially if your whole plan was the hero. Like, you're leaning on that hero really hard in this matchup.
So, I mean, obviously we see what Alexander's plan is. He has locked up the board with the Ruinator, and he threatens to gain value every turn with Birthing Pod. What's Chris's plan to get through this? I mean, obviously we're not privy to what's in his hand, but presumably Blade Splicer comes down, right? Because he doesn't have the other land yet. Oh, he does have the Garruk. He is debating that exact play of the throw away everything to kill your Ruinator. But that's such a tough way to go because, like, Alexander already has a Spellskite and an Oculus in the graveyard. If he plays a creature, sacks it to Birthing Pod, the Ruinator's coming back. You don't want to kill the Ruinator with damage. That's not the way to do it.
You want to O-Ring it.
You do. Or you want to just not
thinking about everything.
There's the Mirror Crusader this time. I never really got down with the undisciplined tapping of the forest instead of the Gavani Township. Hurts my every time. Hurts me. You know, holding that green up, representing whatever you don't really play.
the Rangers Kyle.
Sure. It's a small leak, but it's a leak. All right, so Alexander plays the Ratchet Bomb. This time ensuring, I guess, that the tokens don't come down. But he's thinking at this point that he's got time. He's going to tick it up to 1 and hit those mana creatures and completely stunt Chris' growth.
Yeah, because I mean, Chris is going to be in a lot of trouble if he's only got 2 lands in play here.
Yeah. So one of the things he's probably considering at this point is the just Rook make a guy. As if
I like that play.
He does have another land.
Oh.
Even if he goes Garuk make a guy, the nice thing is that even if the Ratchet Bomb, even if it kills the Pilgrim and the Bird next turn, he'll still be able to cast that Blade Splicer in his hand that we think he has in his hand. Yeah, the Blade Splicer next turn with his land. So the other thing he might be debating though is that obviously he might want to take advantage of the township to Ajani everybody.
He can just crack right now with Crusader and Hero, and then activate Township. It's not the worst play. I like just attacking with this Mirror Crusader.
So Alex would know better than I, but I actually don't mind just trading here. Maybe not. Maybe he just needs to be holding back the hero. The problem is I don't think he holds back the hero next turn. You know, like I think next turn his life total would be low enough that like, I think you just have to trade here. So Alexander about to Ratchet Bomb away Chris's, a good chunk of Chris's mana.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be left with only one thing, there are a lot worse things to be left with than a hero of Voidhold. Alexander actually has 2 Birthing Pods now, right?
Well, no, I think that's a Ratchet Bomb and a Ratchet
Not
Bomb.
Birthing Pod. I meant 2 Ratchet Bombs. Yeah, he has 2 Ratchet Bombs.
Which is pretty strong here. Oh, now he's going to Ponder, too?
Looking for a creature to sacrifice to that Birthing Pod.
It's a Grand Architect.
Metamorph copying the hero. It's actually a very powerful play because even though the Chris's hero is bigger to begin with,
The Ratchet Bomb
exactly the Ratchet
makes
Bomb
the
on
math
0.
different. Yeah.
I mean, he can even eat 1 token now just by blocking with his hero, and then crack back for 1,000,000 and not die on the next swing because of the Ratchet Bomb. We talked about how powerful Ratchet Bomb is just in these tactical situations. So often it's the threat of using it. You don't even have to use it.
And that's exactly what Alex does. So.
Blade Splicer, which is very mild.
Underwhelming.
Yeah, it's not really the way you want to fight the other guy's Ratchet Bomb that's sitting on 0, but it is something. Like you got to do something.
Yeah, I mean, it's an extra 2 points coming in next turn.
Well, and the token could potentially threaten to block. Like the token, the golem, can, if nothing else, eat a soldier if the hero attacks. And the Grand Architect, he now has Ratchet Bomb, Architect, a Metamorph, and a Birthing Pod. So this is just, it's all coming together for Alexander here. We talked about how important it is for Chris to come curve out aggressively, and in this game he did have the 1-drop, but he missed a 3-drop on 2, and he really needs to go 1-3-4. You know, and whether that 4 is Hero or Garruk, or whether that 3 is Crusader or Blade Splicer, or whether the 1 is a Pilgrim or Bird, he needs to go 1, 3, 4.
Yeah, in this matchup.
Yeah. So he decides to get very aggressive. That is very aggressive, if you ask me.
Yes.
But he's at 10 life. He's facing lethal on board. Like
if Chris just draws a land, he just Garrick's and his opponent dies, right?
I mean, presumably Alexander could have something. This is really aggressive. Let's see what it's activating Birthing Pod. Now, are we going to see another Metamorph, or are we going to see like a Molten Tail Masticore? Copying the Hero again. Well, so this shuts Garruk off. This does shut Garruk off as a instantly lose the game card. Mm-hmm. But he's dead to Dismember, Overring, or Naturalize, right?
Yes. So it's dangerous.
This is like he was in a really good spot. Why does it have to? I mean, granted, he'll probably win a turn earlier this way, but why risk it? Well, we'll see. I mean. Fortune favors the bold, I suppose.
Huh.
And he's got to figure Chris didn't have the Dismember, obviously, last turn.
Yeah.
Which is fair, you know, like he certainly didn't have it last turn, or...
But there is some card on the top of his library. We don't know what it is, but it's a card.
Sadly, Chris is now in the mode of trying to figure out if there's any conceivable way for him to even live through the next attack. Looks like he's got a Bird of Paradise in his hand that he can commit to the board. He doesn't have the land for the Garruk, right?
Not. So 4, 6. A Giant Growth would be good enough.
So Alexander Lapping wins with his Grand Architect deck. His Architect Pod deck 2-1 over Chris VanMeter. And green white.